I'm with Natalie Moses, class of 22, Young Women's Leadership Academy, and we're excited to have her. She's back from school, and we're going to talk about some things that we're excited about. The first is your principal and I, must have been 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Has it been 10 years? Your principal and I, 10 years ago, traveled to Dallas and visited examples of single-gender college preparatory programs, both for young ladies as well as one for young men, and left feeling super encouraged about the possibilities and the potential of having our own school here in El Paso, Texas, which at the time was unheard of, and for all intents and purposes, we were the first district to introduce both the concept in a public forum and the Young Women's Leadership Academy. And so what I think people would love to know is, what about the idea of a single-gender college prep academy that's promising parents that all students who attend and complete the program would have guaranteed admittance to a college and or university of their choice? What about that drew you in as, I'm guessing at the time you were either in the 6th or the 7th grade?
Yeah, so when I heard about YWLA, I was in 6th grade at a YSD elementary school. And I had heard of it because a friend of mine's mom was a teacher. My mother's a teacher in YSD as well. So there was always the whisperings of it happening. And I was mostly interested, to be honest, because friends of mine were interested. So I was a follower of the pack. But once I actually was able to go to the district and start meeting with administration, taking the entrance exams, I was really taken aback by how kind the administration was, how welcoming everybody seemed to be, especially the other girls that I was taking those exams with. I really loved the ambiance of having all these young girls that were as interested in education as I was, because I felt that that was something that I was missing at my elementary school, where it was, a mixed bag pretty much. And being able to know that I would be taking classes with these girls that I felt were like-minded, and go forward in advancing ourselves in our education and have the ability to get into schools that I was able to get into. It was really important to me, and it really, it just pushed me to, like I said, take those tests and to get into the school.
Where were you going to elementary school?
Tirada del Sol Elementary School.
A very, very strong elementary school, so that was a big decision. One of the things that was important and continues to be important for both Ms. Villalobos and myself is that the school be considered a privilege and a prestigious experience where it's competitive to gain admittance, because I happen to believe that a lot about life is the ability to compete and overcome challenges that not all students are comfortable doing. And you decided, I'm going to take the exams, it's going to be competitive. I believe at the time we had made it clear that we would only be able to accommodate a certain number of young ladies. So it had to be exciting when you received word, and I'd like to know how you received it, that you had been accepted to the Young Women's Leadership Academy.
I remember I got a letter, and I think I had gotten my letter a little bit late. Like, I think I had physically gotten my letter a little bit late. So I held on to it, and I was scared to open it. I don't know why. I did not open it immediately. I think I waited an hour or two, and I remember opening it at my mom's bank while she was in the talking to one of the bankers. And I opened it, and it said that I got in, and I was all excited, and I couldn't tell my mom because she was in the meeting with the banker. And I don't remember who I shared that moment with. I'm guessing it must have been my little brother, but I was just beyond myself, and I still see it so clearly being at that bank. It was so funny. But I mean, I don't know why I was so nervous. I knew that I had done well in the interviews. I knew I did really bad in the math section. I think that's why I was nervous of the exam. But I was just beyond myself. I was so happy, and I remember texting my friends immediately, seeing if they had all gotten in, which they had.
That's what I was going to ask, whether or not you had already heard from some of your friends that they'd gotten in or hadn't gotten in.
Yeah.
And then the longer you had to wait, you start thinking, what if I didn't get in?
All of my friends had gotten in, so
Okay.
I wasn't too nervous about my chances, because I considered myself to be pretty on par with them. So I was ecstatic, yeah.
And so then, Ms. Villalobos and her select staff, because one of the things I think is true is that that the teachers that pursued opportunities at the Young Women's Leadership Academy understood that they were putting together something really exciting, but something that would be far more rigorous and involved than what you're likely to find at your traditional middle school.
Yeah.
And so, was that the case? Was it what you expected when you started attending courses and meeting your teachers?
I don't know if I expected anything, but it did exceed what little thought that I had put into it, really. When I got there, I had tested out of the lower Spanish, so I was already taking the pre-AP Spanish at that point in 7th grade when I had started. So I was able to finish AP Spanish by freshman year and test out of that completely, which was super helpful because I haven't had to take a language course at college now whatsoever. They accepted my AP Spanish score. As well as we were taking advanced English classes, which I credit 100% for me being the writer I am today. It was so incredibly helpful, and I wholeheartedly believe that I wouldn't have learned how to successfully write the way I did at that age if it weren't for the teachers that we were having. It was just, I still credit a lot of my success today to my early middle school teachers and the environment of, well, we don't know what we're doing, but we're figuring this out together and we're going to get through it together. And I really believe that we did get through it together.
Yeah, and the school does have a highly specialized curriculum. I think it's Springboard, and it, for all intents and purposes, only offers pre-AP or AP courses. And so the idea is to acclimate students, prepare students for not necessarily just high school, but life beyond high school. So you're moving through this, and you're having a great experience in middle school, certainly academically. Did you get involved in any extracurricular activities, athletics, fine arts?
I played soccer in middle school, and then I was the volleyball manager in middle school. And then in high school, I was on the volleyball team. I transitioned over.
One of the challenges, and not just at this school, but there's a network of schools, Young Women's Leadership Academy like schools. I don't know that they're all called that around the state, but one of the challenges is that when you get to the 8th grade, right, people start thinking about boys, the prom, homecoming, all of those things that are often viewed as rites of passage. And so it becomes really difficult for some young ladies to honor the commitment. And that commitment, in your case, was a 7-year commitment. At any point in your middle school experience, were you drawn to the traditional comprehensive high school experience because of the extracurricular activities?
Well, definitely when I was in middle school, like I said, I played soccer. I was the goalie of our soccer team. And then in high school, it was decided that we wouldn't have a soccer team anymore. So I know a lot of my teammates ended up moving schools because of that. And I considered it for a second, but I don't think I ever seriously considered it, because I knew that if I wanted to, I could still play club soccer, that I could do anything else without the school that I could do with the school. So I wasn't ever too mystified by the chance of being able to go somewhere else. But I remember at that time it was definitely a common conversation to have within our friends about who was leaving, why they were deciding to leave. And I just remember not being very entertained by the idea of going somewhere else, whether it be for extracurriculars or other things that are considered to be the normal high school experience, because that was a term that was thrown around a lot. Oh, I want the normal high school experience. I want to go to class with boys. I want a prom. I want this and that. And that just, it seemed like too much of a foggy idea to justify me leaving this experience that I had built for myself. I didn't care about a normal high school experience. I cared about the experience that I had been building since 7th grade. So that was what was really important to me. I never considered leaving, regardless of if we had a soccer team or not. And we did end up having a prom. So those people that left because they said they wanted a prom, like, it just felt like a superficial reason to really leave, and that just wasn't something that I was gonna subscribe to myself.
And you had a lot of influence, responsibility. You as a 6th grade student working with, I think, an abbreviated 7th grade group.
I was the 7th grade group.
You were the 7th grade group?
Yeah, and then we were working with the girls below us.
I see. And so you guys established all of the sort of the norms, the traditions, big responsibility they live on today. And very quickly we began to hear about this concept of a sisterhood, right? And did you find that to be something organic that just happened over time because of all of the responsibilities that you all assumed in starting this school?
Well, I found that the class of 22 was closest with the class of 23 because we started together, and then after that each year was added. So for example, I go to the University of Texas at Austin, and I go there with one other woman in my class, and then in the class below us there's another girl. And when she got there, I very much felt like I needed to go to lunch with her, like show her around, show her just how to transition from being a transformer to being a Longhorn. And I think that was part of that sisterhood that was that we learned how to we learned how to be sisters in this time at YWLA, and that wasn't just something that happened in these halls. It was important enough to, at least me, to bring forth to my new school. I think having a lot of the activities that we did in early middle school and high school, like our field days that we loved so much, and a lot of speakers that we had that spoke to us with both the 6th graders and the 7th graders, was really important in us seeing each other as peers, not just as like the little kids, even though there's, I'm sure, less of a year difference. But that was really important. All the events that YWLA has to offer to its students is important to creating that sisterhood bond as well.
Remind me again, what are you studying at the University of Texas, Austin, which, as I understand, has become more and more difficult to get admitted into?
Yeah, so I'm lucky in that I'm in a pretty small program with American Studies. So I have a major in American Studies, which is incredibly versatile. That's why I picked it. It's not that large. I found out about it through a teacher. And I'm doing a major in American Studies, a minor in Law, Justice, and Society, which makes me pre-law, and then a certificate in Museum Studies.
And is it your intention to pursue a degree in law and become an attorney?
I'll be graduating in May, and then I'll be taking some time off to take the LSATs, and then I would like to go to law school somewhere in Texas.
Oh, but not necessarily at UT Austin?
I would love to get into UT. UT has the #1 law school in the state.
In the state of Texas.
If I get in there, hopefully that's where I'll be going.
So based on everything you've shared, it is clear to me, and I'm sure it's clear to the viewers, that YWLA prepared you well for your baccalaureate work at UT Austin.
100%. As a middle schooler, I would enjoy complaining about how much work we had to do, not just the content, but the quality of work we had to do. It felt very daunting going from elementary school work to not just middle school work, but this work that our teachers had high expectations of us. So like I said, I was doing the pre-AP Spanish, I was doing advanced English, and it was hard. I don't want to say it was hard for me to transition into, but it was definitely a challenge that I'm not sure I was 100% like mentally prepared for. But going from that pre-AP work to AP, where I accepted 30 AP credits going into college, so that I shaved a whole year off, I'm graduating in 3 years, that was 100% possible because of the quality of work I was expected to do here. So my transition personally from high school to college was not difficult whatsoever because I was completely accustomed to putting out that kind of work. Especially I participated in academic decathlon and haiku, and academic decathlon specifically, it has a large coursework every season, and that coursework is in college level academics. So when I was studying for academic decathlon, that was me flexing my skills as a college level academic. So once I actually got to school, I had no problem. I knew how to study. I knew how to organize myself. I knew how to not procrastinate. I didn't have a problem with that whatsoever. And I think that's 100% because of the expectations placed on me as a YWLA student.
Let's leave the academic element and let's talk about something that too often sabotages students, not just from the Ysleta Independent School District, but from school districts throughout El Paso, and that is their inability to adjust to the culture of a city other than El Paso, where there's so much diversity and students from, I'm sure, all over the world attending UT Austin, and just their ability to be persistent and stay in an environment that is oftentimes very, very different than life in El Paso.
Yeah.
Did you run into any of that?
I was definitely incredibly homesick because a lot of my early friends freshman year were from the East Central Texas area. So if my roommate at that time wanted to go home, she just had to take a bus to Dallas. And that wasn't something that I was able to do because the 8.5 hours between here and Austin was just too ridiculous. So I was definitely jealous of my friends that were physically closer to home, and that took a toll in my friends going home and me just not being able to do anything, feeling kind of alone at that time. But I am so lucky to have parents that expected me to do well in school from the very beginning. And I wouldn't say that they expected me to leave home. They would be happy regardless of if I went to UTEP or if I went somewhere else. But they knew that I was capable of leaving home and being independent and succeeding that way. So when I did get homesick at that time, I would call my parents and they would just remind me that they're gonna see me for Thanksgiving, they're gonna see me for Christmas, they're gonna see me for spring break. And if they really needed to, they are fortunate enough to be able to fly over for a weekend if I really, really needed it. But it was more of a like culture shock coming from this very predominantly Hispanic city, and not just city, but this school was predominantly Hispanic as well. And going to one where Hispanics are the minority, I'm not even sure we're 25% there, and having to find people that I felt had experiences similar to mine, to be able to relate to them in some way, and that made me feel like I was closer to home. So a lot of my friends, like I said, are from East and Central Texas, but my best friends are actually from El Paso. My best friends that I met in Austin happened to be from El Paso, but I didn't know them while we were here. We just happened to meet there, like, oh, you're from El Paso? I'm from El Paso. What high school did you go to? And then they never knew what high school I went to, but it was pretty funny. But yeah, it was just something that I struggled with at the beginning, but now I feel that Austin is one of my homes as well. And I think that all El Paso students in El Paso that are looking to go out and leave home for school. I think that that's something that's definitely a rich experience, being able to learn that independence from not necessarily being able to depend on the closeness of your parents, of your family, forcing you to know how to go grocery shopping by yourself, know how to pay your bills, know how to make sure you're doing your homework and nobody's reminding you to do it. I think that's something that's really important to growing up a little, and that's what makes me feel a little bit more grown up than my middle school brother feels, I'm sure. But it was really helpful to me, and I'm so thankful for my ability to live by myself in Austin right now.
So you probably started in the dorm and then eventually apartment.
And so my parents were very scared of me leaving the dorm, so I lived in the dorms for 2 years as opposed to the one that students usually do. So I just moved into my apartment for the first time this past year. So if you have some nervous parents about you leaving, just let them force you to be in the dorm for an extra year, I guess. That's what my parents did, and it worked out fine. The dining hall food isn't that bad, but yeah.
I'm curious, you were part of a sisterhood here. Were you drawn to sorority life, and did you pursue that or not so much?
Not so much, because I felt that my connections to sisterhood were still so deep here, and I feel like my friends in Austin are my sisters as well. So I didn't really feel the need to have like a structured sisterhood like I had here, because I already knew that I had my friends here at my disposal, and they had me at their disposal, and I never really felt like I needed to fulfill that gap, because I still felt very enriched in that way.
Well, I'm sure you know that you were what you just described was the ideal, the model that we were pursuing when we started this journey. And so we're obviously very, very proud of you. We want to make sure that you always have a home with us, and we'd like you to stay in touch, and I know that you will, almost naturally, and let us know how life turns out. And thank you so much for taking the time to come share your experience at the Young Women's Leadership Academy in the Ysleta Independent School District.
I loved being able to talk to you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.